Hey guys, welcome to another New World video. Well guys, a bit different of a video today. This one isn't a guide or anything. I just thought maybe I could talk about a few things. Some stuff I've been seeing going on in the game that I think needs to be talked about. Maybe it'll make no difference. Maybe it will. Who knows? But I wanted to put it out there into the universe in hopes that it might. So, let's get into it. So first, before I begin, I want to say something very simple. I do love New World. I know the game is flawed and broken in many places and needs a ton of work, but I love it all the same. I am not completely sure why, but I do. So that being said, there are some things that just can't be ignored any longer. So with the release of the roadmap yesterday, the same old divide in the New World community has been highlighted once again. PvP versus PvE players. To me, this is just silly. New World is not an exclusive PvP game, nor is it exclusively a PvE game. This constant back and forth between the community is completely unproductive. All it does is create disdain and malice between the people on the forums, and frankly, it's ridiculous. Made worse by the developers who do things in half measure. Does the game need a constant pipeline of fresh, fun PvE content? Yes, of course it does. But this has to be balanced with PvP content. It's simple. Any release should always contain both, and one does not take away from the other. This has never been the case in any MMO. PvPers run expeditions, and raiders, or exclusively PvE players, do PvP content that has rewards they need, like arenas for home decor or OPR for Ruby Gypsum. You get the idea. So why argue about it on the forums? This needs to be focused towards the devs. A bigger, healthier game with more PvPers and more PvEers is better for everyone. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And the funny thing is, every MMO I have ever played just takes the PvE content that they already have been working on and uses some of the old assets, calls it a new arena or battleground or whatever, slaps it in, and everyone's happy. It isn't more work, and it isn't the devs focusing resources on places you don't agree with. It's simply that simple. And before you tell me that I'm totally wrong, let me share a couple of ideas I had for things that they could do, or should have done already, that would make the PvPers so happy and keep them playing. Everything already exists in game. All they have to do is take a couple of days, do a little copy and paste work, and suddenly your population will double. For example, the Corbinic Castle. This place was added in the new player experience. It is beautifully well done, and sadly, no one is going to be going there anymore, other than the odd leveler who will go through it then leave. This castle clearly took days, if not weeks of work to create. Do the devs not want their efforts viewed, appreciated, or loved? So why not just take this place, make it a battleground like OPR, have one team defending, one attacking, call it Battle for Corbinic or something, then at each point in it that already exists for the quest, make it a capture point that you can't pass through until it's captured, or you break down a door. Both of these mechanics are already coded into the game for other activities. And put a few oil dumps and guns and things like that from OPR on the thing. And boom, you have a fun, fresh, new battleground, using existing assets, and a spot that deserves more appreciation gets it. Or if you want to hit it right on the nose, look at this map right here in Brightwood. A lumber mill, mines, and a manor all exist in a triangle fashion from each other. Now, what would this be? How about a pre-made capture the flag battleground map? Sitting here, all they have to do is cut this piece of the map and make some trivial, simple landscape changes, and boom, you have a capture the flag battleground, and it's already made. And for arena, they have 3 PvE arenas already in the game. They have rooms in almost every expedition that are cool. Why not steal those assets and make them into PvP arenas? I could of course go on and on, but my point is, it's very simple work on the part of the devs to add stuff that people will love, that people will want, and will bring them back as well as retain them. So there you go, AGS, do it. You're welcome. You can make the checkout to cash and leave it under my door. And the next thing I want to talk about is how they seem to ignore things when they add anything new. They claim that adding something affects everything, and of course they are correct. But they ignore huge things that can't be ignored. The game has very few endgame activities right now, so completely undermining any of them and making them pointless is a huge error. Let's take factions for example, the gear. Every single rank and the gear that you get from it needs to be reworked. This is because the devs decided to up the gear score on everything, gave better gear from low-level quests, and add gear to world bosses at endgame that anyone can farm. And then they made it all 590. So why does faction gear exist? Who is going to spend 1 minute, let alone hours, grinding faction tokens to buy 535 gear today? No one. That's who. It's stupid. This gear needs to be up to 590. It needs to be much more expensive, and you need to add an additional faction rank that takes a long time to complete. Like something like Legatus or something, so that people will once again want to do these stupid faction missions. Now, I am not saying make it easy god gear. I'm saying make it mid-range entrance level gear with 2 perks for PvP or PvE that are usable. Have the attributes of the 590 piece of gear and allow people to have a goal, a reason to do this stuff again. Even give full sets of ward gear from these faction vendors that's entrance level with 1 ward perk and a couple of other perks, but not BIS. Isn't the goal to keep people playing? maybe I'm wrong. So give them a reason to play, if it is. And this doesn't undercut crafters in any way, because everyone knows the real money is the 3 perk items, and those will come only from crafters. And don't tell me they can't do this because it unbalances things or ruins crafting, because have you watched my New World boss farm videos? There are 4 currently, and I've found even more I could make another video on. So yeah, they don't mind adding cool new items to level 16 bears for no reason, but adding it to the endgame activity, yeah, that's too much work. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Total sense. This also applies to their so-called legendary weapon quests. At this point, can we call them the perfect salvage weapon quest, please? What's legendary about a 580 item that has prerequisites of completing pretty much every endgame quest in every zone? It's ridiculous. This should be a straight up 600 gear score item, like I said. And like I said, make the items. Don't let your AI software generate them like you do now. And you clearly do. Which brings us to the final thing. This complete nonsense with changing perks on things later because it's illegal, like the rings yesterday. I mean, okay, I get it. It's not meant to exist, so they need to change it. However, are you guys aware there's a part of the New World database where you can view all of the so-called illegal items that shouldn't exist right now? And there are many, more than 1,000, and they have not been fixed since launch. So why do they choose arbitrarily which items to fix and which to not? This does nothing healthy for the game. All it does is demoralize people who first farmed the item for hours, then spent 10,000 umbral shards upgrading it. I get that it's impossible really to give anyone any of your make good boxes to anyone who has done this, because you would have to scan thousands of inventories and that would take a ton of resources. So how about this? When you guys decide you want to do an action like this, when you announce it and put it on the PTR, as you guys have done yesterday with the ring, how about you have an NPC in Everfall or Brimstone or someplace that's always there? And when you make this decision, you allow trade-ins of the item to the NPC for a new ring plus 6k umbral shards, any item based on whatever the change is. So that way the player still loses a bit, but not everything. That seems easy and fair. Now I know if you're the type of person who doesn't agree with me, you're about to say, the people who upgraded knew it was illegal. But did they really? Let's look at a few illegal items, shall we? And tell me how you feel if the devs changed them. So first, the Black Blade. This one is illegal and shouldn't exist, and I've seen it selling quite frequently on the market for 300k at times. Imagine all those people who have purchased this if they get around to fixing it and removing the luck. Or how about this chess piece? One everyone gets for completing a simple MSQ quest. See the problem? Or is this legal and completely fine? I mean, yeah, gem acting like it's in a weapon, but in armor. Completely inside the game's rules, right? And how about Rune Glass, and how some gems get the nerf they are supposed to, and others do not? This one doesn't make the list of things to be fixed because it's unbalanced and breaking the rules? Okay. Or how about the legendary shields? Those were being crafted by many people for weeks using stopwatches. Then later you say, oh no, that was a bug. We're gonna fix that. So now, here's the situation you've created. Either you delete all legendary shields, which will cause rage because of the invested materials to make them, or the gold spent buying them. So yeah, you can't do that, right? Or you do what you did and leave them be, and just prevent ever making them again, which is equally bullshit. Cause now those shields are at an inflated crazy price. There are fewer every day and it will never be balanced because some people out there will always have 4 perk shields and others will never be able to because hey, it's illegal and not allowed anymore. But you'll completely roll back people's rings. Truly, as you can see, the list goes on and on and on. So fix them all or fix none. But adding items to an MMO requires pre-thought. Stop generating items in a lazy way with AI and start designing them. Or at the very least, respect the time of your players. And if you plan to completely change an item, at least give compensation beforehand. And maybe a better explanation. Because if it was just the ring and a screw up, fine, I would accept it. But come on, so many items are just ridiculous. It's become the rule, not the exception to it. And hey, AGS, while we were changing things you added to Brimstone Sands, how about these boots? Or maybe an explanation on when these would be used by anyone. I would really appreciate that also. Hey, maybe it was just because of the double damage comp perk, so maybe that's different. I mean, if that is the case, then definitely it should be fixed. I mean, it's not like there are many double damage illegal items in the game that have been completely ignored by the devs ever since launch, right? My main point here, before I end up ranting for too long, is this. Be consistent. Yes, I agree we need to have loot rules. That makes perfect sense. But do not arbitrarily fix things and ignore others. It pisses people off. And honestly, you can't afford to piss people off at this point. Okay guys, that's all for today. I'm sorry for this rant video, but there are so many strange things in the game that could be fixed very, very easily that would make a massive difference on player population, game health, and so many things on so many levels. If you guys can think of anything else, please feel free to leave it in the comments, or share your thoughts on the things I talked about. And as always guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.